y'all. Today I thought I'd do a bit of a coffee chat. It's going to be an introduction to a series that I want to do on YouTube. It's been a while since I did a series, and I've been thinking about what I really want to do with YouTube, with this main channel, and where I want to go with things next year. I'm revamping a few things. It makes me feel good to have some of my ideas sort of finally come together. And one of those ideas I had way back when was like a beginner's art creative kind of series, but I didn't really do much with it. Not like I wanted to. And then I started thinking about my Friday videos, my Wednesday videos, my Monday videos. Mondays are Monday's musings. I think I'm going to do Watercolor Wednesday or Writer Wednesday. So it will be one or the other. I think I'm going to do maybe one video a month about writing, maybe. Most of them will probably be some kind of watercolor video. I will update people on my writing as I get through some writing. I did win NaNoWriMo, but I took a break. I'm about to start again, but I've got a little ways to go before I ever finish this novel. I was talking to my daughter about it yesterday. She said, "Mom, is this going to be a trilogy?" And I said, yes and no. I said it may be more than 3. When I was thinking about some of the things that I could do for Friday's videos, Friday's my fun day. It's my Friday fun, Friday kind of day, you know. And I have this long blog post that's going to accompany this about how I got here, sort of. Art is for anyone. It may not necessarily be for everyone, but it's for anybody. Art is for all. That's going to be my new hashtag, art is for all. And that's because I think many of us feel really self-conscious when we even think about creating art, especially adding art to something as precious as our journal pages. If we think, well, sometimes I think we get these, what I call the naysayer voice. We get the naysayer voice. None of my art is any good. I don't know how to draw. I don't have time to draw. It doesn't look like so-and-so's. It doesn't look like the picture or the object. It doesn't look right. I suck at this. I'm not an artist. I can't even draw a stick figure. I don't know why I'm trying to do this. Rainbow Rowell said something in a book called Eleanor and Park, and I'm going to give you this quote. And I'm going to give you 2 more, but not right this minute. Eleanor was right. She never looked nice. She looked like art. And art wasn't supposed to look nice. It was supposed to make you feel something. Well, poetry's like that too. Poetry doesn't necessarily appeal to every single person, or maybe a poem will appeal to somebody differently than it appeals to another person. It's all about your interpretation. If I had to be honest, not all of my art is remotely nice. Some of my art is very messy. Some of my art is not organized. Some of my art is just watercolor plopped on a page with some journaling or a quote. Sometimes it's stick figures. Sometimes it's pictures and ephemera and a little bit of drawing and art and watercolor and stuff here and there. Sometimes it's something that I actually take a lot of time with. It could be anything, but my art is oftentimes messy. It's not always nice. Sometimes it doesn't make sense. And you know what? Art doesn't have to make sense to anybody but you, really. Art doesn't have to be an exact replica of a picture or an object. It can capture the essence of it. I mean, if you want an exact replica, just take a picture or cut out a picture and put it on your page. If you want to have some fun and create the essence of something and to experience the pleasure of doing that, that's where the drawing and the actual art come in. Not that pictures aren't art, because I think pictures and collage bits and stuff are art. But art does not have to be good. Thomas Merton from No Man is an Island, it's a book, said, "Art enables us to find ourselves and lose ourselves at the same time." You can lose yourself in your art. Showing up to your creative process, to your creative practice, is not always easy. It can be really hard sometimes, especially if you are filled with those self-doubts, with that naysayer voice, with anxiety, which is sometimes what my problem is. And creativity takes courage. Matisse said that. But if you remember that it's your journal, it's your sketchbook, and it's your story that you're putting inside of those pages, it'll be a lot more interesting if you're putting your story in it. Now, your story can include pictures and ephemera and collage and things that you draw if you want to draw. This video is going to be more aimed at people who have thought about creating art, putting it in their journal pages, putting art in their journal pages, drawing, adding watercolor, doing things like that, but they're not so sure. Or maybe they've started it and then they stopped because they were listening to that naysayer voice, that voice of self-doubt. When we add bits of ourselves onto our journal pages, we're telling our story, and our story is so much more interesting when we add little bits of ourselves onto the pages. I journal for a lot of different reasons. One of those reasons is for keepsake, so that later on down the road, when my children or my grandchildren, when I'm no longer here, they can look at the pages of those journals and learn bits and pieces about me. My father died when I was little. My daddy. I was 7 years old, a few months away from being 8 years old. My brother had just turned 4. My mom was 28. My daddy was 31. I have a checkbook register from when he was young, and during that time. I have his driver's license from back then. I have a letter he wrote my mom. I have a few little bits and pieces that have his handwriting on it. Imagine how wonderful it would feel for me if I had an actual journal, even if it was a planner, back then an agenda, if it was a log, because he owned a gas station, filling station. Back then it was full service in the 70s, and he was a mechanic. It was a garage and a gas station. Imagine if I'd had a log, customer log, something, anything that wrote about his day, his appointments, what he did, anything. It would be so wonderful. I could learn something about him as a person. My mom remarried when I was 9, and just recently, in October of 2017, my dad died of cancer, and my mom almost died. Not of cancer, but my mom had been ill, and she didn't realize how ill she was while she was taking care of my dad in the last stages of his cancer, and her immune system went real low, and my mom had a little tiny gallstone. She had had her gallbladder removed while they missed one, and it got stuck in her liver. It caused her to go septic. So my mom ended up in the hospital at the same day that my dad was in ICU and dying. We had pulled the respirator. I ended up having to put my mom in the hospital. Well, my mom has wrote poetry my whole life. So I have bits and pieces of my mom. I don't have much from my dad like that. No journals. My dad wasn't really a writer. But I do have a lot of other things. I wanted a keepsake. I have like a couple of letters that my grandmother wrote. I have a couple of little things from different people. I'm very sentimental like that. And I started thinking a few years ago, a long while back, when I first started adding art to my journals, because a lot of times there were journals that I wrote that were burn journals. I don't have the notebooks, the diaries, the journals from way back when I was young. I don't have any of them. Wish I did, but I don't. One of the places I lived in got flooded. But anyway, to make a long story short, when David and I got married, and I had a grandchild, Victor was born a few months before David and I got married, I was thinking about the baby, and I had started a journal about me and David, our relationship, how we met, pictures, ephemera, different things, ticket stubs, all kinds of stuff. And I was thinking, sort of a combination of a scrapbook and a journal. I fell down the rabbit hole of what people call Hobonichi or Fobonichi style journaling, document your life, illustrate your life, real life journals, that kind of thing. I fell down the rabbit hole a few years ago. And since then, I have just fallen in love with how you can document your life with all different kinds of things. The series, Artist for All, is not going to just be about illustrating. It's going to be about all different kinds of art, because they're all different kinds of art. But this video is going to speak to the drawing and watercoloring or coloring pictures that you do. We all start out as a beginner. From whether we start drawing when we're little and we're learning how to read and write and draw. Some of us continue to learn how to draw and watercolor and paint and all kinds of other things. Some of us don't. If you're like me and you've taken a long hiatus from it and then you got back into it, you have to pretty much start all over. You have that beginner mindset. A lot of times we start by playing. We have fun. And the more that we play and the more that we have fun, the better that we get. I started out with just like more or less children's how to draw videos, posts, books, and I kept on, and I would look up clip art or images on Google, and I would look at them, and then I would draw whatever I saw. I would draw. I would look at an object and draw it, look at a picture and draw it, look at a piece of clip art or whatever and draw it. So some of it was imitating. I don't really trace hardly ever. I think there have been only 1 or 2 instances where I traced and it's been like the outline of something. Not that I'm against tracing, because tracing will help you learn how to... I looked at objects that I had around the house. Say, for example, an apple. Or you could draw from your experience of what an apple is. Now you're going to see me watercolor an apple. You're going to see me, I drew just the basic shape of an apple. And then you're going to see me watercolor it. And I did that without looking at an apple. I don't actually have any apples right now. And I didn't look up an image. I just drew from my experience of what an apple looks like. When I was done with it, when I first drew it, I was like, oh, this kind of looks more like a tomato. But, you know, it's okay. What I saw in my head of an apple is what I put on the page. And I did the background in yellows and greens because apples are yellow and green or red or a combination thereof. And I wanted it to be something really simple. You could actually just draw a circle with a little thing at the top, a little stem, you know. You don't have to get the little grooves at the bottom of the apple, how the apple looks. Actually, I think I'm missing one. I think the apple has 4 or maybe 2. I don't know. And I'm not looking up an apple to see because that wasn't what this was about. It's about being okay with capturing the essence of something. It's about being okay with it not being perfect. It's about being okay with the experience of it. It's all about just the creating, about the process. I drew this apple from my experience of what I know of an apple. And the first time that we draw something, draw it from our memory or from our experience, it's probably not going to be perfect. Now, if I were to actually pull up an image of an apple, find a picture of an apple, and then draw said apple, it would probably look more like said apple. Probably. Not necessarily. But the first time that you try doing something like that, you're learning, you're growing, it's fun. It can be a little filled with it. You can be a little filled with anxiety, but it is fun because we're learning. We're getting a feel for what we're doing. I have a much harder time drawing from my imagination, but I have been doing that more and more. The next time we draw something, if we look at an image later and we go, oh, well, that apple, the way that it grooves, it looks a little bit different than I drew it. So maybe the next time I draw it, I'll draw it more this way. That's learning. That's practicing. You're growing as an artist. And the more that you practice and the more that you learn, each time you try again and again and again, the more that you practice, you get more relaxed, you get better at it. And if you practice from a place of learning and growth and playfulness, it's so much more interesting and fun. And you're filled with less anxiety. That's the beginner mindset. The beginner mindset's where you are more like a child. And when Victor draws stuff, he doesn't see whether it's perfect or not. To him, it looks like exactly what he said he saw in his head, and that's what he draws. Or if he's looking at something and he draws it, it looks like that. He did a good job, and that's like the best thing ever. And that's how we need to feel about every time we try something new. We try to do it, and the more that we practice, the better we get at it. We're actually focused more on the experience when we do things that way. When we think about it from the beginner mindset, hey, I'm learning, hey, I'm growing, hey, I've got to practice, this is fun, let me practice some more, let me practice some more. That experience, it's like I said, it's the process. We're not really thinking so much about the result except to learn from that result so that we can do it again and again and again, and each time we practice we'll get better. I don't want to sound like super cliche, you know, it's all about the process, not the result. It's about the journey, not the destination. It's about the doing and the creating. Each time we create something, especially when we're creating something from nothing, that blank page in your journal or your sketchbook or on the watercolor pad or whatever it is you're using, that's a work of art after you're done with it. It becomes a work of art. It's your work of art, and it tells a little bit of your story, just a little bit of your story. And each time you do that, it's more and more of your story. Now, sometimes if you've looked at my pages, I have bits and pieces on a page that have a bunch of little drawings. It's a bit of my day. I'm illustrating, drawing my day, documenting my life, documenting my day, my life all together in this journal, or in the journal. And if you really, truly want to add bits of art, no matter what kind of art it is, to your journal, to tell your story, it makes it much more interesting when you do your stuff, and you haven't already started, or if you have started and you kind of stopped for a while, pick up a pencil, a pen, and play. Draw some scribbles, draw some stick figures, draw a bunch of different stick figures doing a bunch of different things, find some pictures. There's all different kinds of things you could do. You could take a face from a magazine and then draw the body. Glue the face onto your page and then draw the body. I saw in one of the magazines that I have, I think it's AARP magazine, they have Will Shatner from Star Trek originally, and he's got a Santa Claus hat on. Well, he's got on regular clothes. Well, if I cut out his face, I could then draw the body of Santa in a Santa suit, and I would make the Star Trek guy Santa Claus. I could take an image of me, take my face, put that face from a picture on a journal page, draw a Santa Claus hat, draw myself as Santa or Mrs. Claus or an elf. And you could do all kinds of things. You could make your face pop out of a stocking. Like I have a stocking on this page. Well, I could have taken my face, cut out my face from a picture and put my face in that stocking. You could do all kinds of things. You could draw. Now, like I said, this one's aimed more at people who want to start drawing and adding that kind of art to their pages. Believe me, when I first started, I was so nervous, so filled with anxiety, so filled with self-doubt. It's been happening over and over. I went through a really bad rut when my dad first died, and I didn't want to be creative at all. I had no creativity. I didn't even know where to start, which is not a good thing when you are creative, when you are a content creator, when that's your job. And I had to, and I had no idea. And I knew after about a month, I had to do something to get out of the rut. A5 pages were just too much for me. It was too overwhelming. That was just too much space to try to fill in. And I went to B6, and I did a custom order with Bree from Documented Journey. And this notebook, and it says, "Serenity is not freedom from the storm, but peace amid the storm." And that is so true. The journals that I got sent, she sent me this one, which is the one I ordered, the custom order. And then she also sent me a prototype when she was first gonna make Tomaway River paper notebooks. I started with that tree. Now I have since done, I've since done other things, and I haven't filled this journal up, but I will. There's the tree again. And one of my goals this coming year in 2019 is to fill up this journal, to fill up the journal. On Fridays, I'm going to start doing videos, like I said, how-to videos, things like that. But I'm also going to do videos where I talk about things that people have asked. A lot more of the request kind of videos, some of the fun kind of videos. Friday's going to be more of a how-to and a fun kind of thing. Which is why I wanted to talk about this. This art is for all. Art is for anyone, really. Anyone who wants to. So I'm going to do some videos where I do a bit of collage, which I'm not all that comfortable with. But I'm starting to get more and more into, because when I think of collage, a lot of people say collage or they say mixed media. And the first thing that comes to my mind is acrylics. I'm not into acrylics. Just not. I do like gouache, okay, but I don't have any tube gouache. I love watercolors, and I love adding bits and pieces of pictures and things from magazines and different things like that, and washi tape and real life ephemera and all kinds of stuff. So I thought, well, why not do collage my way? Try it. Bree did a video about collage because she did the cover of a journal, and she was like, asked if people would like for her to delve into more stuff with collage. And I was thinking, I was like, yes. And then I'm like, I'm not all that comfortable with it either. So I'm going to experiment some. Fridays is going to be where I answer questions. I do request videos where I experiment some, like how I'm going to try to do collage differently than what my idea of it is. And I've had to open my mind to what it means, what mixed media means to me, what collage means to me. because I just do not like acrylic paint. I don't like how it smells. I don't like how it feels. I don't like anything about acrylic paint, really, except for projects. I'm okay with acrylic paint with projects, but not in my journal. I don't want acrylic paint on my journal pages. As I endeavor to go through this, I thought I'd try something different. And you see me doing the prompts. This was yesterday's, so I need to do today's. I think that was yesterday. Yes, and today's is out and about. So maybe I'll do the tree. Because it looks like the tree doesn't have any leaves right now. So maybe I'll do my tree. I'll get out and about in my front yard and maybe I'll do the tree. And I also have a tree that I watercolored at my mom's when we were there for Thanksgiving that I have leaves to that I want to collage onto the page. I've already watercolored the tree part. Now I need to do the leaves. So maybe for next Friday, I will do my 2 different versions of a tree. One where I watercolor and one where I've watercolored and then I add collage bits of leaves. I don't know, maybe I'll add little bits of the leaves for here on the ground because they're all on the ground. That's something to think about. So I don't know, I hope that you've enjoyed this, and I'm going to leave you with the last little bit of music, and I hope you have a good one. And if you have any suggestions, I have gotten some suggestions. I need to do a video about my favorite watercolors, my favorite colors, what I use the most, which aren't necessarily the same thing, what my goals are with my journaling, with my art, with my sketchbooks, with my Omni journal, some of my goals, some of the classes I want to take. I am going to be doing the depth year next year, so I'm not going to be buying very many supplies at all next year. Things that I have to refill, definitely, but I'm not going to be buying any new things. So it'll be everyday ephemera. It'll be using my imagination a lot, creative problem solving, using creativity to think outside of the box to come up with things like advertisements that come in the mail. Like, for example, this came with something, and I have been using little bits and pieces of it for journal fodder, especially when Victor is over. All different kinds of things. So I'm going to have to be creative next year. And a lot of what I'm going to be doing is going to be fun. I'm going to be taking more pictures this coming year. I'm going to be, next year, I guess I should say, I'm going to be doing more art, more watercolor and sketching. I'm going to get out more. I'm going to have at least 1 to 2 artist dates a month and things like that. And I'm really excited about it. I have my facts comped. Yeah. So I'm really excited. This was so much easier, the Peanuts version of myself, than this was. Thanks to Bree and how she drew my glasses. I did my own version. Her version looks so much better. Mine, my face is too narrow. I didn't actually get my cheekbones in there. But anyway, I look more like a cross between an alien and me than me. But that's okay. I'm trying and I'm practicing. And it was fun. And I actually didn't look at Bree's. I looked at it for the glasses. I glanced at the glasses. And then I went, and I don't have any eyebrows. Shit. Okay, I have to draw eyebrows, y'all. I have to draw eyebrows. How could I have not given myself eyebrows? No wonder I look like E.T. Okay, that does look much better with the eyebrows. Much better with the eyebrows. See what I'm saying? Doesn't have to be perfect. Thanks, y'all. Have a good one. I'll see you again soon. Bye.